Ricketts is at the high point. Jones, Rolatario has a lane. Nicholas Rolatario, the shot. Scores! Holy jumping! The Italian stallion puts the puck in the back of the net. Mamma mia, Nicholas Rolatario! Up the ice, short-handed, 2-on-1. Kirsten has Nixon. Scores! Holy jumping! It's a short-handed goal, and the Oakville Blades are running away with this one. Josh Nixon. McDermott to Israels, to McDermott. McDermott down low, centering, scores! Mamma mia! What a goal! Kyle Potts puts the puck in the back of the net in back-to-back nights. Tic-tac-toe, and the Blades passing comes to perfection. Block that shot, and coming the other way is Alton McDermott. He's on the breakaway. Scores! Holy jumping! His grandfather, Paul Henderson, must be ecstatic about that one because Alton McDermott just scored his first career Buckland Cup final playoff goal.
You're watching Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural show of Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk, and our first ever guest on our new show, the Ontario Junior Hockey League Commissioner for 11 years now, Marty Savoy. Marty, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it very much.
No problem, Nicholas. Honored to be your first guest on the show.
Yeah, you know what? I decided we got to do something here. We ain't playing hockey maybe for another 4 or 5 months, 3-4 months, right? So we got to get something going, and thought about you right away. Sure, everyone maybe wants to know what's going on in the league, but first we get into that. How have you during this COVID-19, during this quarantine so far?
It's been interesting, a lot of time at home with the family, which is good, and you're getting to know each other better and playing games, everything like that. But just like everybody else, we're taking it day by day and getting by, and it's we just keep sticking together. We'll get through this thing.
As long as no one's sick of each other yet at home, then you're okay. Then you're
Not
good.
Yet. Knock on wood, not yet.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're gonna get into a couple of years ago. Right? When you were on our run with us. With Jordan Sellinger, Mike Tarantino, Robert Davina, so on and so forth, the Oakville Blades. I guess one simple question was, in your 11 years of the commissioner of the OJHL, could that have been one of the strongest championship teams?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually, Nicholas. It always seems the team that comes out of the OJ seems to be a pretty strong team, and we've had, in my time, we've had the one national championship with the host team when it was Coburg, which is a pretty strong team. But that team would be right there. They would be right there. You were at the event and everything like that, and especially at the nationals there, they were a bounce or two away from making it another finals, which we would have been, finals one year. Wellington made it to the finals the year after, and they came in third. So we could have had 3 years in a row with the team being in the finals. And if that team gets to the finals, it was a team that was extremely well coached and prepared. They had some outstanding players. And when you get to a final game, who knows? Oakville could have had a national championship.
And obviously Coburg hosted and won a few years back, and Georgetown's had their runs, Wellington's had their runs. It just, not because I was there and I was part of the organization, it felt a little different maybe in the time that we were going. And the Nationals, Hockey Canada, they put on a great show of hosting all of us there, especially in Brooks, Alberta. It was basically felt like a OHL plus atmosphere and stadium there. So that definitely was something special. Moving forward, how hard this pandemic has hit all of us in many different ways. How hard was it for you and the board and everyone involved in making the decision to cancel the postseason, the rest of the season, that you had to do?
Well, in 11 years, probably the most difficult thing we've ever had to do. Actually, going back, my 23, 24 ever had to do. When it first came down, I think what happened with the NBA when they shut things down, but the rest of the leagues kind of took a step back and said, wow, we should really look at this thing. And then it happened so fast, Nicholas. What happened here is that our board got together and we made a decision to suspend our playoffs until further notice. From that suspension, Basically what happened is that Hockey Canada and the OHF came down and canceled the season within hours of us making that decision, which was the right decision. When the health board and the health organizations are the ones that kind of made the call and the decision for everybody. But from where I sit in the league, we have 506 players in our league, and they're all trying to move on to the next level. And it happened during the time of the year where we call it important in big game hockey, where scouts are looking at what kids can do. You talked about the run for Oakville and how many kids on that team got rides from that run. And it's such an important time where, the coaching staff and you and me and everybody else, the owners and everybody in the league are here to support the players. So I feel for those kids, especially the 20-year-olds that don't get to do that last game where it's your last game. And, I was a 20-year-old and I remember my last game in the league, and it's tough for those kids, and I feel for those 20-year-olds in the league.
That's the unfortunate part, right? I mean, they had their last regular season game, but their last ever game, I mean, no offense, but if you didn't get swept, you still had more time to go, right? So it is one of those unfortunate things. And like I mentioned, it hit everyone in many different ways. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, we see what's going on with the States and many other issues as well. But the return to play is what everyone wants to know, and everyone's eager. You're eager to get back there, I'm sure. You want to hand out the Buckland again. I want to be in the press box, calling some holy jump and Mamma Mia goals. What is the plan? Can you explain the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things people have to understand is, and I try to tell everybody this, is that we're dealing with a virus, and the virus doesn't listen to anybody. And that's what we have to control right now. And so everybody's working together to get those numbers down and flatten out that curve of what's happening. And what you're seeing is that, provincially, we're slowly starting to open up. What Hockey Canada has done, they basically said that provincially, the provincial organizations, being the 13 branches of Hockey Canada, will make the decision when to come back. So we've had calls with our branch, the OHF through the OHA, of when to come back, and they have guidelines and everything. But essentially what's going to happen, it's going to be the provincial government in our 11 health regions that our clubs play out of in our 22 cities that are going to have to give us the okay to go back in the rink. What that's going to look like, it's going to be a bit different when we go inside the rink. We have a committee right now of 19 individuals across the league, from general managers, coaches, governors, athletic therapists, equipment managers, who are going to be key in this. We have a 5-people subcommittee off of there that are looking to prepare us for the safetyness of our players and staff when we go back into the rink. As far as timelines, who knows right now? Again, we're going to have to wait to see where this all rolls out with the health regions and as the numbers come down. But the one thing that we're going to be sure from an OJ standpoint is when they say you can go back in, we're going to be prepared. We'll be prepared more than any other league, I believe, of what we're trying to do, and make sure the safety of our players and our staff are in the forefront of everything that we do when we go back.
And that's the key, right? You got to have that plan in place, or else you go back. We don't want anyone scrambling, because we want to hit the ground rolling right away, right? We want to go right on the ice right away. And to go on the ice right away, there's got to be stages: stage 1, stage 2, phase 1, phase 2, and so on. Are we kind of, let's say, within our league in a certain stage now, and what that stage or all the stages include?
Yeah, so right now what's been allowed from the provincial government and the regions, I believe that Halton and a number of other areas outside of Toronto and Peel are going to that stage 2, where you can have gatherings of the 10 people. So when we go on ice, you can have one coach and then 9 other people on the ice. So we're in a training phase right now where we can get players on the ice to train at a limited number. But those phases of us coming back will be again dictated by the health reasons. We're on a call every Tuesday with the CJHL and Hockey Canada, and it's the same message coming from them. Is we just have to wait to see what the government stages are. As far as ourselves, we will have a league when we're allowed to open up, with or without fans. Our governors have made that decision. It'll be a financial commitment from our teams to make sure, but we want to make sure that our kids don't miss out on the season of development and advancement in their careers.
And based on that, what could that be looking like? I mean, obviously there's not going to be a time frame, but the season we're normally get going September 6th, 7th, or 8th. Could that see the season being pushed back to training camp September, October 1st, November 1st, the start of the season, or is that still all up in the air?
Yeah, so what's happening right now, Nicholas, Chris Vanstone, who's our director of hockey operations and our competition committee, what we're looking at is a runway. And what the runway is anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks we're going to need to prepare these athletes for competition. So you have to remember, I mean, you've seen them, you see these kids, they're high performance athletes. They just can't come back and go from 0 to 60. So there has to be a phase where they have to get ready to come back. Depending on timelines is what the schedule is going to look like. We play a 54 game schedule on a normal season. If we can start up in September, that's what we're going to run. If not, as that shrinks, we have to make decisions. Right now, I believe there's about 9 different scenarios that we're looking at. And I think, Chris Vanstone said it best, is give us 6 hours and a piece of paper and a pen, and we'll map this thing out with one of the different models that we have. The one thing that we are committed to is getting the longest season possible for our players. So if that shortens championships and playoffs, we're going to shorten that side of the equation and make sure that we have enough of a season where the players can develop and get in front of scouts.
So with that being said, is there the plan to still have the entire 54 game season?
Again, Nicholas, if all of a sudden we come back here in August and they say, yes, you guys can open up here in August 15th, we can get a training camp in and get open, we'll do 54 games. It's probably unlikely right now with all the everything that you're reading with the numbers are at and everything. But if the time permits for us to have a full season, absolutely we'll do a full season. If we're pushed into September, October, November, that just shortens the season, the number of games, and how our playoffs will be. And it's difficult because I talk to parents, coaches, and everybody, and they're getting frustrated of we have no answers. But again, I go back to we're dealing with the virus. And so when you're out and about, make sure you do and you follow the PPE and all the guidelines and everything, because that helps society, obviously, but it's going to help us get these kids back on the ice.
And obviously, I mean, if there has to be shortages anywhere, I mean, all of the other than if there's a crossover game in the start of the playoffs, all series are like the NHL, 7 best of 7. Is there a scenario where if we have to put a little bit in, closer in tight together, could that be seeing maybe best of 5 series or a first round of best of 3, or is anything up in the air?
It's all up in the air. Yeah, and we would do exactly that. So, maybe the elimination of a national championship, because that takes a number of weeks to do. Elimination of a regional championships, because that takes anywhere between 6 weeks to do that, to get those 2 events off the ground. And so that's 6 weeks of hockey that we're missing on the other end of it. So when you look at the equation of it, there's 4 components that you have to look at. Well, 5 with the preseason is your regular season, your league playoffs, your regional playoffs, and your national playoffs. And so what do you sacrifice to get more hockey in? It's probably nationals, and you work your way back from there.
Absolutely. Safety protocols is a huge deal. In the locker rooms, entering even the rink, the door handles and all that and so forth. Hockey players, for the most part, are pretty covered up when they're on the ice, right? I mean, they got a full uniform on, they got gloves on, even these kids have to have cages, right? For the most part, all on. So they're not really touching much, but I think it's like the pre and then the post after a game or on the ice. Is there a several amount of safety protocols that I'm sure you guys have written down that have to be taken place and are requirements to return to play?
Yeah, so what will happen, you're talking about hot spots of workflows. That it's one of the committees that we're looking for is exactly that. We have PPEs and hygiene, personal hygiene, that there's a committee looking at that stuff as well. And then training and monitoring. And those are 3 of the key committees that we have, including signage, because signage is going to be an important part when we go back inside of our dressing rooms and the rink, and then a communication group looking at everything. But exactly what you said, Nicholas, that is part of the plan going in. The one thing that we do know is that competition will probably be the last phase that will allow, because there's no way of not colliding on that ice and the way the kids play and just the level of that what the OJ is at. And so with those guidelines will be set out by our governing bodies, will be set out by the health regions as well. What our goal is to make sure that we have a plan in place that we can follow it. We have a plan in place so everybody understands it, and a plan in place that everybody can manage it.
There's a little buzz in the air, and that buzz in the air is the U.S. to Canada border. And what will happen with the Buffalo Junior Sabres? I would probably say it's all up in the air still. But, Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, just extended the border with non-essential now to July 21st, another 30 days. Today, the announcement came out this morning. What can or will happen? Is there a possibility that the Buffalo Junior Sabres might not be able to compete in the 2020-2021 campaign?
Yeah, you see, what will happen is that the one good thing we have, Nicholas, is that's an unbelievable organization. If you've ever been down there with Larry Playfair and his group down there, is that they're unbelievable. Larry's concerns right now is the player. If they're not going to have a season, if they're not going to be there, make sure the players can play someplace else. A lot of it will be dictated by that border. We can't have it where we have a 14-day quarantine when players move over and back across the border. So it will be dictated from that. We've gone from where, they have to take a year leave of absence, where they're going to be full of the schedule, start a schedule, and they just forfeit games. Again, the one thing we want to make sure we don't do, Nicholas, is take things off of the table until we have to because of timelines. So right now they're geared up to play for next season, but depending on what happens with the timelines and the announcements that come down, we'll make decisions from there. I don't think they're going to be in a situation where they'll relocate for a year and play out of across the border and set up shop there. I think it's not realistic at this time. But as soon as we do know what's happening with that, we'll be able to make a decision with them.
And then obviously, I mean, the Governor Showcase is normally in Buffalo. I think the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe more, that they've hosted. If that can happen because of the border being shut down from Canada to USA, is there another alternative location?
Yeah, again, we have a few different plans that we have to roll out for it. Since ago, we've been doing is sitting around planning different scenarios here. But so, yeah, that showcase is probably one of the largest in North America. We get 250, 300 different scouts that come into it. It's a beautiful facility for everything, great for scouts to come to. If we have a full season across the border, it would be in Buffalo again. If not, we've looked at alternate locations. Again, trying to secure ice for a weekend, especially with COVID and everybody going to be trying to get ice, is going to be a bit of a challenge, but we have plans in place. We've looked at things and maybe having two different ones, a regional one in the east, a regional one in the west. So we have looked at the different things. One thing we do know, Nicholas, is that we're going to have one event where we have all of our teams playing so the scouts can come and have a look at them at the start of the season. So depending on when we start and what teams and facilities are available, we'll have an event.
Are you going to give me a Gary Bettman answer and give me some hub cities for the Governor Showcase or what?
Yeah, no, I think he's a bit smarter than I am, but no, we will look at because you can narrow it down to the facilities that can accommodate an event like that. And we go from there. We have probably 6 to 7 facilities that can accommodate, and then facilities and the teams themselves to be able to do it. So,
well, that sounds good. Moving forward with the future of the league. You see a lot of movement already with the transactions overall. Obviously, a lot of staff changes as well, and player changes that just are endless in junior hockey. What are you excited about? I guess would it be entering year 12, or would this be year 11? No, year 12 I think would be the upcoming season, right? 2020, 2021. What are you excited about personally for you? And broader all the way across the Ontario Junior Hockey League?
Well, I think one of the big things is just the restructuring of the OHA, our governing body, that we spent a lot of time on. Working with the other two leagues, the Junior B and Junior C loops, we've never had a better relationship. We have a strong relationship with the Senior League now. So that's something that I'm looking forward to see how we can grow with them to move forward and helping moving players up and down from different leagues. From a personal note, I'm just so proud of the different teams and the staff that we have a number of teams. I'm really excited to see our two new franchises from last year now that they've had a season under their belt. You have Collingwood led the league in attendance, and you'd say Milton led the team in branding. What will they do year 2? It's scary to think about that type of stuff. We have kids continuing to move on. We have kids going to get drafted in the National Hockey League again. And that's the thing that excites me for it. It's just to see the progress year after year of these young men that come through our league, that come in as 16, 17-year-olds. They get a couple of years under the belt. And then to watch their success the next year where they go on to the next levels of hockey. So those are the exciting things for us. I'll just be excited when I can go to a rink and watch a game. I think it's the biggest thing right now for me and everybody else. But we'll get there. Hockey's not going away forever. We'll eventually get back to normal hockey here.
When you came to the OJHL 11 years ago, did you think you were going to be the commissioner this long?
I didn't know, to tell you the truth, back then. It was crazy getting involved. But yeah, when I came here, I wanted it to be a long-term thing. This is the highest level of hockey I ever played at. I've coached at higher levels and whatnot, and it's really fun level of hockey to be at. I really believe that the National Junior A Championship is the single hardest championship to win, with the turnover of players every year. A Memorial Cup would be a close second. These kids are playing for their futures. We're all involved. I mean, you're here because you get excited. The same thing I do when a player from the Oakville Blades gets a commitment to move on to the youth sports or Division I hockey or D3 hockey, and then ends up in the National Hockey League. You can say, I remember when he played for the Blades. And that's a big part of why I'm still sticking around here.
And finally, how has the game changed, if any, from 11 years ago till now?
I think a lot of it, probably from a violence standpoint, is that even 11 years ago, we had a lot of fighting in the league. I remember the first junior A game I ever played, I was 15 or 16-year-old, and I got beat up by a 20-year-old. And when I came in the league, I just thought that that's just wrong. And we've been able to eliminate that. Fighting is across the 10 leagues in the country. The OJHL has the least amount of fighting. From a safety aspect, it's changed a much. But the biggest thing that's changed in 11 years, especially when I played, is just the level of skill and the athleticism of our players. I'm truly blown away. I go to some of these games and I watch what these players can do and their commitment level. I think that's one thing that people don't realize, Nicholas, is that these kids eat, sleep hockey 24/7 to get to the level where they're at. It's the only way they can get here. Their dedication to be an athlete and a player, it's second to none. And majority of our kids, that's equaled in the classroom as well. Their education is so important for them to get to the next level. And that's one of the things that just blows me away year after year, how much better these kids get.
It sure is impressive to have kids playing hockey and then that same kid putting up 60 points. No, let's have a 90 average and go to Princeton University for a D1 scholarship. Like, you don't hear about that. I mean, I'm more of a soccer playing guy, but all invested in hockey. And like, you don't really hear that in soccer, but in hockey, it's tremendous. And honestly, not because I have you on, but the OJHL is one of the leading leagues in junior hockey in Canada, in my opinion, to move these kids on to the next level. And I'm sure you must be proud of that.
Yeah, and again, I play such a small role in all this, Nicholas. It's our 22-member clubs that do it all, and you see the behind the scenes. You know, you take an organization like the Oakville Blades from Jamie Storr all the way down. You know, there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes, and we're seeing that when we put committees like the return to play, where, you know, one of the things I always say, the hidden gem in this league is our athletic therapists and our equipment managers. When we have to submit names for team candidates, it's hard to pick nominations from that group because there's so many outstanding ones that support our league. So, no, I think we're in a good spot moving forward. And when we do get to flip this switch, it's going to be a lot of fun coming back out of this.
Hey, and I think we need to add broadcaster of the month or year back. What do you think?
Absolutely. We probably should get that in there for sure. That would be a tough one as well.
Hey, who knows, right? Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I got a slim chance. Marty, I appreciate this very much. I wanted to kick something off. Probably should have done it earlier in quarantine, but I said, you know what? Let's get it going now with this show. I appreciate your time. I really do appreciate you being the first guest of the show. And thanks for joining.
Nope. All the best, Nicholas, and safety to you and your family as we get through all this.
And same to you, everybody. Marty Savoy of the Ontario Junior Hockey League, the commissioner for 11 years, entering season number 12. And we're entering, hopefully, a season that's upon us after post-COVID-19. Follow all of the social media accounts at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Mamma Mia. This is Fire Talk. Once again, Marty, thank you very much. The inaugural show of Mamma Mia. This is Fire Talk, episode 2, only a few days away. Thank you very much. I'm Nicholas Fiore, the Oakville Blades play-by-play broadcaster.
Hits it in. A chance here can develop, but the Blades will look to take it. And Ricketts finds Israel's. Breakaway, Israel's. A chance, backhand. Rebound. Scores! And the Oakville Blades win it here in Toronto. Blades win, Blades win, Blades win.
Garvey to Josh Belgrade. Into the zone. Belgrade, Wyatt Allen. These two had some history from Sunday. Blades are in. Chor the shot. Scores! Luke Chor. He's in and makes the game 3-1 for the Oakville Blades. A little spin-a-rabba. Down low in front of Colton. It's Mamma Mia. What a goal. Game is opening up in a big way for both teams. Ricketts centering. What a pass. Israel's breakaway. The move. Scores! What a goal for the Alaska Fairbanks commit. The assistant captain, Harrison Israels, with an absolute dandy. Split from right to left and had Colton Ince legs popped wide open. Now low to Lyons. Jack Lyons centering. Scores! The double jacks combine as that puck popped up like a jack in a box. And it's Jack Ricketts from Jack Lyons.
That was Mamma Mia. This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next episode.